Is it possible to have a 48-hour hangover? Last Wednesday night was our annual Heels Without Wheels holiday event, and I'm still trying to get my liver back on speaking terms with my stomach. Heels Without Wheels is my affectionate name for streetwalkers, desperate women who stand on the corner and hawk their services for 10s and 20s to sad sacks and perverts. This was our 9th year. The funding comes from various places, much of it pried out of the pockets of rich men who trade cash for cum. Some call it blackmail. I prefer to call it friendly arm-twisting. I employ a fleet of limousines to cruise around and pick up the girls. Even the male streetwalkers up in Boys Town are invited. This year we held the event in the grand ballroom of the Palmer House. Large round tables are lavishly set with red and green. A band plays everything from waltzes to hip-hop. Tables are filled with coats, clothes, winter scarves, and makeup. The girls end up fighting over the makeup. But at the end of the night, nothing is left. The food is pushed around on their plates as they try to consume as many drinks as possible in 4 hours. Q is always responsible for transportation and copulation. The drivers can't help but want to sample the girls, and Q keeps them on a tight schedule. The standard rule: get laid on your own time. We even have a room set up for the children. You see, many of the girls have kids, and we invite them along as well. Stella herds the kids, keeping them from riding up and down the elevators, terrorizing the other guests. Stella hates her job and threatens to quit every year. I'm still waiting. Biggie, well, she dresses up like an elf and helps Santa pass out gifts. I think she really believes she's an elf. Weighing less than $1 and under 5 foot tall tends to make one feel elfish. Sloan plays Santa, the grumpy old bastard. Every year he moans and groans for weeks before the event, and then he shows up first with bags of candy and a bottle of Jack Daniels. Biggie delights in passing out the candy. I delight in avoiding the little rugrats. I abhor sticky fingers. I'd made my 3rd sweep at the ballroom. Most of the girls have been here before. We exchanged pleasantries. I introduce myself to the newbies and point out the table with the free condoms and phone numbers for free clinics. That's when it hit me. Bernie's not here. Bernie the hooker is notorious in Chicago and always attends. She's 80 if she's a day. Normally, she's the first to arrive and the last to leave. She mother hens the young girls, giving them tips of the trade. Never trust a man who smokes a pipe, she tells them. The Cucamongas are out tonight, she'd say. I found Q. Where's Bernie? I asked. No one's seen her in weeks, he answered. Z, she's old. Hell, she might be dead for all we know. I made my way to the cloakroom and slipped out the side door. Aziz picked me up in less than 10 minutes. I slipped him a C-note and told him to take me to the Maryland Hotel. Aziz is my emergency cab driver. He never talks, never tells, and lets me smoke in his cab. A winning combination. Wait here, I'll only be a moment, I told him. The desk clerk was new. After a double sawbuck exchange, he told me what I needed to know. County Hospital is not the place to be on Christmas Eve, or any other eve. Gunshot victims and overdoses are stacked on gurneys like planes ready to take off from O'Hare. I walked past them to a woman who looked like she wanted to cry. Room 212, she said. The smell of urine was overpowering. I pulled my mink around my nose. to keep from vomiting. An old bag occupied the first bed, her legs sawed off to the knees. "You here to see Bernie?" "Yes," I answered. "You're too late," she answered like a person who loves to give bad news. A curtain was drawn around her, and I watched as silhouettes moved silently. I sat down on a hard, cold chair to wait. It didn't take long. "She's only had one other person visit since she got here, a nice man. He brought her food and shampoo. I think he might have brought her whiskey, too. She always seemed much happier after he'd leave." "Really?" I was half listening as a young man came out from behind the curtain. "I'm Dr. Mercer. Are you her next of kin? We need someone to sign the death certificate and arrange to have her body moved to a funeral home." "Yes, I'm her next of kin," I said, signing the certificate with trembling hands. "We'll be taking your mother down to the morgue. Tell the funeral home to pick her up there." I made my way back out to the cab. "Everything okay, Lady Z?" Aziz asked. "Fine, Aziz. Just fine." Q was pacing back and forth in front of the Palmer house when I stepped out of the cab. He followed behind me, firing questions. Where had I gone? Why had I not asked him to drive me? I allowed him to rant. The ballroom was still rocking, the booze still flowing. "I went looking for Bernie," I said. "And?" "She moved to Florida. The word is she has a son living in Miami. Who knew Bernie the hooker had kids? Now run along and fetch me another martini," I said as I looked up and saw the group. They stared at me as I quickly wiped the tears from my eyes. "Don't you people have work to do? Get to it." Stella pulled Biggie away as Sloane stepped up beside me. "Well, old lady, I've been waiting for our dance. Care to join me on the dance floor?" He held me tight as we moved to the music, my tears spilling on his Santa suit. "What's with the waterworks, old girl?" "Bernie died tonight." "Ah, shit," he muttered under his breath. "Why didn't you tell me she was in the hospital?" "She asked me not to tell you." "I hate you, Sloane." "Yeah, I know, ZeeZee." "Merry Christmas, you old broad," he whispered in my ear. "Merry Christmas, you old bastard," I whispered back.